So strap in tight for this one because something just got broke wide open. A former US Air Force major, an elite F-35 Lightning II instructor pilot callsign runner, has gotten nabbed and accused by the FBI for straight up training Chinese military pilots on American combat tactics. Just wild. I hate hearing things like this, but we gotta talk about it so we can learn from this. This 65-year-old vet with 24 years in the cockpit, including commanding nuclear capable units, allegedly spent over 2 years in China spilling secrets that could let the People's Liberation Army Air Force, the PLAF, for you acronym lovers, could let their pilots counter stealth fighters in a real fight in the Taiwan Straits or somewhere else. What if China shared this information with Iran? Some details behind the F-35. This could real world endanger lives of US Air Force pilots, and it could counter US stealth fighters in any real fight around the globe. So this is deadly serious. We're talking F-35 stealth maneuvers, and also, if the F-35 wasn't enough, runners also being accused of A-10 close air support tactics being released to China. I mean, not only the F-35, because the F-35 also does a lot of the missions that the A-10 once did. So again, combining the two is a very bad situation where the tactics from the F-35 and the A-10 could actually help China. This is wild, and this stuff hits right at the heart of US air superiority and the US's ability to go in and do things like what happened in Venezuela. So this isn't just some low-level leak at this point. This is a decorated American fighter pilot who got duped, or whatever you want to call it, was put in a position where they, under their own will, seem to have given secrets to China. Now, there'll be a full investigation and a full trial. Obviously, Runner will have his day in court, but this is deadly serious. When the FBI comes knocking, there's at least something that could have gone wrong with his decision making. So this could be Runner turning against the US amid Beijing's aggressive push to close the gap with Western know-how when it comes to air superiority. And Beijing is pushing hard. You've heard of honeypots before. Have you heard of the Beijing pot? I mean, something probably way beyond our wildest dreams, the tactics that China could use to try to get these stealth secrets. So stay around to the end of the video. I'll give you a chilling hypothetical situation of how this kind of betrayal could play out in a Taiwan Straits showdown and why this could shift the balance of power in the Pacific. At least that's what China's hoping for. And this is the kind of twist that makes Maverick just wake up in a cold chill. Wherever he is right now, wakes him up in the middle of the night, feeling that chill of someone potentially releasing secrets on the F-35. And there's some precedents for this as well. Imagine that. China, having done this a couple times. Weird. Let's break down some basics on Gerald Eddie Brown Jr., aka Runner, retired Air Force major, 24 years, flew everything from the F-4 Phantom to the F-15 Eagle, F-16 Fighting Falcon, and A-10 Warthog is what I'm digging up. He's said to have commanded units that are tied to nuclear delivery systems, which could be the F-15, the F-16, also the F-35, obviously nuclear capable. Post-retirement, it said that he flew commercial cargo. Then he became a contract simulator instructor, training U.S. pilots on the A-10 and the F-35 Joint Strike Fighter. But starting around August 2023, prosecutors say he conspired with foreign nationals and a U.S. person, so we don't know who that is quite yet, to provide unauthorized defense services to PLAF pilots, People's Liberation Army Air Force pilots, which violates the Arms of Export Control Act. There is precedence for this that keeps people like me and like other former Air Force and Navy fighter pilots from giving any information to China. So it's said that Brown flew to China in December of 2023 and stayed until early February 2026, over 2 years. And it's said that during that time in China, some of the things he did included a 3-hour grilling on United States Air Force operations. I mean, just crazy that he would sit there and answer that. You obviously have to know what's going on. I don't care how good the honeypot is, dude. So let's talk about some related high-profile cases. Brown's case echoes other betrayals like Daniel Duggan, an ex-U.S. Marine Corps AV-8B Harrier pilot who ditched U.S. citizenship for Australian citizenship only to get arrested in 2022 on U.S. extradition charges for training Chinese pilots from 2010 to 2012. Through the shady test flying academy of South Africa, he made that happen. Duggan allegedly taught NATO standard tactics, zeroing in on carrier landings, hook and wire precision that powers naval operations. He might have used mock decks or early carriers like the Liaoning, a Chinese early carrier, and then also dished out wind calculations, approach angles, and bolter drills to boost China's blue water navy capability. I mean, insane. Prosecutors slapped him with money laundering as well for funneling payments, and it was up to $270,000 a year, and potential financial woes were going on in that case. And a lot of times when it comes to aviators that get put under this kind of pressure and break, there's something else going on. There's something weird in the background, some sort of leverage that China has over them. We talked about the honeypot. Obviously, people are going to be susceptible to that if you don't have a strong backbone. You got to have a strong backbone and know when she just thinks you're hot because you're a fighter pilot. We've all been there. It's okay. So you can't sit there and think that you're too big for your britches in a honeypot situation. Obviously, we got to talk about that. Secondly, financial woes. And financial woes is something that can really open you up to a huge liability. And that's why when a lot of security clearances are done, that's a huge part. Dig in. Do you have any background that could make you susceptible to pressure financially? And that fact that he taught those Chinese fighter pilots how to fly on and off the carrier, we've seen their most recent videos of them dashing off and on the carrier and doing decent work in that J-35. Very interesting, huh? It's like a big middle finger in the face of the West. They're like, not only are we going to use your pilots to train us, we're going to name our stealth aircraft that looks just like the F-35, the J-35. It's literally like they're just at this point showing off with that big fan #1 finger, but instead it's like the middle finger. That's exactly what they're doing at this point because they're showing that they can steal our tactics. And with situations like this, it highlights a lot of vulnerabilities. And then on the cyber side, here's something that's wild. In 2007, Chinese hackers breached the Pentagon's Joint Strike Fighter project, reportedly stealing F-35 data. And by 2009, they nabbed terabytes from Lockheed Martin. Su Bin was busted in 2014, and that revealed orchestrated thefts of 65 gigabytes on F-35, F-22, and C-17 capabilities for the People's Liberation Army Air Force. I mean, that's just insane. A 2013 report confirmed hacks on F-35 designs from China. Weird. China stealing and making knockoffs? Yeah, we've never seen this out of China before. It's like in the Bourne Identity when the assets turn and start hunting the home team. This is just wild. But the People's Liberation Army Air Force is hungry for Western expertise because their J-20 fighter looks impressive on paper, but to me, it could lack the real-world tactical depth that U.S. pilots have every single day that they step into an F-15EX and F-35s. Beijing's been running operations like the 1,000 Talents program to lure ex-Western aviators with massive paychecks. Think 6 figures plus perks, not sure what those perks are, and this isn't new. Since 2019, dozens of pilots from the UK, Canada, France, Germany, and more got recruited through front companies like Test Flying Academy of South Africa or Beijing China Aviation Technology. They teach dogfighting, electronic warfare, evasion, even simulated F-35 sensor countermeasures. And here's the kicker. You might not even know you're helping China. At some of these shady schools, they might claim to have affiliations with NATO or who knows where. So China is very deceptive at how they lure in these pilots. The onus comes to these pilots to remember that China is out there and they're always fishing. They're always fishing. The FBI and allies have sanctioned outfits across Asia and beyond for this type of talent poaching, and Assistant Director Roman Rashovsky hit it hard. He said that Brown betrayed his country by training Chinese pilots to fight against those he swore to protect. It's part of a broader pattern. China exploits retirees, disillusioned or cash-strapped pilots, turning their skills into People's Liberation Army Air Force advantages. They're buying experience that the U.S. has spent billions on developing. But the shock here is the depth. An actual F-35 instructor, not just some random contractor, allegedly demoing stealth tactics, radar evasion, and close air support in Chinese facilities, potentially using sims loaded with classified US data. I mean, think if they already had some sort of F-35 replica tied to Su Bin, the hacker who already stole the F-35 blueprints. This erodes the edge of the US Air Force. Pilots can learn in China how to beat F-35s before they even engage. And when your own guy starts coaching the other team, that's not just a foul, it's a game over if you're not paying attention and now having to counter whatever he taught the other team. But the FBI's counterintelligence division moved extremely quick here, arresting Brown in Jeffersonville, Indiana, right after he returned. DOJ complaints lay it out clear. No State Department license means essentially felony territory for what went down. Allies are on high alert. The UK banned ex-Royal Air Force pilots from training China back in 2022. Why just in 2022, guys? We probably should have had that in place a little bit before then. And then Five Eyes intelligence sharing warns about recruitment traps like blackmail or honey traps. So Five Eyes is the alliance. It does include the US, it includes Australia, it includes the UK, but it bans things like working in these shady flight schools. US commerce sanctioned companies involved in these different operations back in 2023, and now there's tighter vetting for retirees, better monitoring of overseas travel. It's ramping up to plug these leaks before the entire dam breaks at this point. But the F-35 Lightning II is the star of the show here. It's a 5th gen stealth sensor fusion beast, and it networks with all the different jets for a networked approach to warfare. And Brown's instructor role means he knows classified tactics, low observable maneuvers, data linked strikes, how to penetrate advanced air defenses. He also trained on A-10 for ground pounding runs, and China wants this to counter US carriers and bases in the Pacific. They want to use these tactics to bridge the gap where their J-20 lacks, and their J-20 lacks any type of combat proven stealth, and that makes them really nervous. So to counter this, the US needs to just up our game in layered defenses. I mean, up our game in making sure no pilots share any tactics ever again. That'd be the number one focus coming out of this lesson learned. But AI monitoring and sim training needs to step up to counter the fact that maybe now China has some of our information. I mean, just insane to think about them having part of our playbook, and the PLAAF is not afraid to use that stolen knowledge. So at this point, the US fighter aviation community has to just win by winning out in innovation. That means next gen tech like the NJAD, keeping the edge moving. The F-35, still the stealth king, developing new tactics with that China can't contend with. But again, China's tactics have been lagging Western capability, and that's what makes them so nervous, and that's why they'll keep trying. Even when it comes to A-10 close air support, they want to learn everything they can. China copies aggressively. Their PL-15 missile, it's said to rival the range of the AMRAAM, and leaked tactics could improve their missile evasion and targeting. All right, let's move to a section I like to call 4D chess. Sun Tzu says know your enemy. So China plays the long game here. They recruit insiders to flip asymmetries and deter US intervention in Taiwan by eroding air dominance. The likely outcome here is an incremental PLAAF gain, and it needs to be countered hard. This could embolden China's aggression if they think they can match F-35 tactics. If they're sitting there like, yeah, we got all we needed from Brown, we don't care about the F-35 anymore. Now, I think that's a bad idea, because again, innovation can still happen with the F-35, but it could give them a little bit of hubris and think they can go blow for blow with their J-20 with the F-35. So as you guys can see, I'm out traveling. I'm in Arizona enjoying this beautiful weather, but let's talk about a hypothetical situation where US carriers launch F-35s for strikes, but PLAAF J-20s trained with runners' tactics anticipate stealth approaches, they jam sensors, and they force defensive fights. At this point, there could be F-35 losses, or it could drive F-35s and J-20s into within visual range fights. So if it drove it to within a visual range fight, it's going to go neck and neck. It's going to depend a lot on who gets the first move, who's aggressive first right off the bat to actually get that dogfight kill. The J-20, in my opinion, having those canards in the front, not going to be quite as maneuverable as the F-35. It might get one big move right away, because it has the nose authority with those big canards on the front. But after that, at that point, a lot of its energy will be bled off and likely the F-35 will dominate. But this could escalate quick. Again, the US might have to pull back to protect assets. China could seize the initiative using runner's tactics. One man's betrayal could tip the scale from dominance to deadly parity at this point. This could be a nightmare for American aviators. This is why these tactics need to be held very close hold. So there you go, guys. Brown's arrest exposes China's pilot poaching machine. From the Duggan carrier secrets to cyber hacks like Su Bin's F-35 data theft, it's systematic, dangerous, and it hits our core advantage. Trained pilots who are very good at the tactics that are trained. So stay vigilant out there. If you're a fighter pilot watching this, don't get poached. Don't get honeypotted. What do you guys think? Do you think that more pilots will be poached from China? Or do you think this is the wake-up call that every pilot, every Western trained pilot needs to not be susceptible? Let me know in the comments below. And then go ahead and follow me on X, follow me on Instagram. I'm posting there pretty much every day. And if you want to see me do a live every week from random places, like here traveling in Arizona, if you want to see me do a live in places like this, just click the link in the description. I'll be doing a live once a week. I'll see you on that live, and then I'll see you in the next video that pops up right here. Thanks so much for watching, guys. This is Ryan, also known as Max Afterburner, signing off.